So while you guys are sitting, my name is Winston Labbé. I'm the Deputy District Director with the Houston SBA office, and very excited to be here today. We just love coming out into the community and providing education. You're going to hear from three excellent panelists here in a second. I'm going to ask them a few questions, and then we're going to ask you guys to give you a chance to ask questions. My background, native Houstonian. I was a commercial banker, commercial lender for 25 years in Houston. I joined the SBA 4 years ago as a outreach and marketing specialist, and then gradually moved up to deputy director. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our director over there. Mark Winchester is waving his hand. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. And then Abigail Gonzalez, goes by Abby. She's our regional communications director. I think she's outside speaking with someone. And so with that being the case, we're going to get started. I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, briefly, that is, because I have questions I want to ask. So I already said, don't take away my thunder. Just talk briefly about your background, and then I'll do the questions. So we'll start with Greg, and then Dale, and then Chris. Greg.
Winston, thank you for allowing us to be here today. I'm excited about being able to share about access to capital. The previous panel mentioned that was a necessary part, and so we're trying to provide you some additional information and resources. My name is Greg Burkett with PeopleFund, and we're a non-traditional lender. We're not a bank. We're what's called a community development financial institution, and we operate under the umbrella of the SBA and provide funding for businesses starting and growing. But the objective is to try to get you ready for a good relationship with our other lender partners.
Hi, I'm Dale Champagne, and I work with the Southeast Texas Economic Development Foundation. We have two wings. One of the wings is where we bring all of your executive directors for economic development, chambers, business for, can't really say business professionals, but we meet once a month. And in that meeting, we talk about Southeast Texas as a whole. Whereas a business may be coming in and looking for certain property, assets of property, and things of that nature. Finder may not have it, but Orange does, or Coots, or Hardin County, Jefferson County, Jasper counties, those counties, one of them might have it. Bringing that business to our area also brings vendors to the area, which helps Southeast Texas as a whole grow. So that's one of our wings. The other wing is on the CDC, Certified Development groups, whereas we provide SBA 504 loans for businesses, and we work with business lenders, commercial business lenders, in order to help them help their clients achieve their dream and passion for owning a business.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Kovatch, Senior Vice President, Commercial Lending, Texas First Bank. I've been in the banking industry close to 20 years, and so started when I was like 13. But had the honor of working with a variety of size businesses from very small to very large, and so it's a great opportunity to serve our community in that role.
Thank you so much, Chris. And I have a question for the audience. Before we go any further, I should have asked this question. How many of you own a business? Just raise your hand if you own a business. Wonderful. That's great. Outstanding. How many of you plan to start a business? How many of you plan to start a business? How many of you plan to start? There you go. That's what my pastor would do at church. They keep looking around until you got the answer. Okay. So we'll get started with that. Greg, PeopleFund. So you mentioned Community Development Financial Institution, right? What makes PeopleFund different than, say, from a traditional bank, if you will?
Well, again, we're not a conventional bank, okay? So we don't have depository relationships, but Congress several decades ago realized that there was a gap between starting a business and being able to fund a business. And commercial banks, they do a great job, and they're part of the network. The risk associated with a startup business, especially, is quite large, and so the Congress wanted to lessen that risk for the financial institutions and allow CDFIs to be structured where we could take a little bit more risk and be able to help businesses start and grow. And so that's primarily the difference. In addition to lending, we provide education. We have programs that help people understand how to do business and do business well. And so our objective, like I said before, is to make a startup business a successful client for our other partners. And that's our role.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And as I ask these questions, some of the questions are broad questions. So let's say if I ask Chris a question, someone else can jump in and also ask, okay? Chris, this is for you though. SBA. So when you say SBA, when the audience hears the word SBA, they may go, what is SBA? What is that? So if you could, what's the benefit or the advantage of, say, an SBA loan versus conventional? And conventional is not SBA, it's traditional.
So there's a number of benefits, and I think whenever I speak with clients, we kind of look at both sides of the table and see what's going to be the best fit. SBA, depending on the loan program you're in, has some longer terms as far as your repayment. Interest rates are lower generally. You've got where you can roll in closing costs, interest reserve, a lot of benefits to help you as you're entering into this new venture and to help you be successful. And so there's some things on the conventional side, there's just constraints we have, and there's lending guidelines, whereas SBA has a lot of flexibility to help business owners.
Another question for you, Chris, is it's a delay in this Bible. Another question for you, Chris. In terms of relationships, a lot of times, especially in Houston, when we do the panels and have conversations and webinars, we talk about the 5 C's of credit, but then we also talk about relationships. So how important is it, and this is for you, Chris, and anyone else can jump in on this, how important is it for a small business owner to try to develop that relationship with the bank or the banker? And I'm talking business relationship, back going to the movies.
Relationships are key, and honestly are one of the things I look at more. Credit is important, cash flow is important. All those things are part of the puzzle, but having someone, you want me to buy into your business and support you, I need the same. I need to get to know you. I need you to be honest with me. What's the goal? When I ask you, for information, you get it. It's a back and forth. And it is my favorite part of my job is getting to partner with businesses and playing a small role in them reaching their dream. And I know you're paying the bank back. I know the bank makes its money, but it is that. And when people come alongside me and let me help them and listen, I've done this. I've seen lots of business make it, and I've seen lots of ones that struggled and some that didn't. And so those pieces of information I love to share, but I need, it's a partnership. We need you to listen and work together.
Dale, you have your mic on.
Well, I was just going to say about relationships. That's the one thing when a business calls me and they say, I want to open a new business. Do you do startups? I always say, pick a lender, because we partner with that commercial lender that you feel good with. Their vision's the same as yours, because everybody has a different personality. So whatever fits you may not fit me, but build that relationship. That's what's going to help you along the way. And start it 2 years out, because one of the things that is required is that lender knows what you're going to need. And if you don't have it, they'll probably send you to the SCDC, especially on the business plan, because they'll help you create those things. But start your business relationship at least 2 years out so you have and are ready for that loan.
Thank you, Dale. Did you want to go ahead?
Yes, I just want to make a comment. The other panel mentioned, invest or business owners come in with retirement or a nest egg, and they want to invest it into their business. And those nest eggs can evaporate very quickly. And so you find yourself after a start and you're needing financing assistance, and that's not a good time to go meet your banker, okay? And so, again, as the other two panelists have mentioned, establish that relationship. Go into a lender and sell yourself, okay? Don't just go in and just say, hey, I need a loan. You're going in there, and we'll talk about business plans later, but you're basically selling your business to your lender, and you're wanting to encourage them to be a partner with you. And so it's not whenever you need the money, but it's when you're first starting out. The conceptual part would be a good time to, not necessarily go to the movie, but maybe take your banker to lunch, So, but.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Chris mentioned lenders, and I'd be remiss in terms of lenders and identifying lenders. On the SBA website, we have a table over here to my left, your right. My colleague, Mark Winchester, our director, is there. Not just, he's the guy, Mark Winchester. But we have a list of lenders on our website. And so for the 32 counties that the Houston District Office serves, we have approximately 140 lending institutions that are active in our market. Now, when I say 140 lending institutions, half of those lending institutions are headquartered or either have a footprint, meaning they have an office within our district. The other 70 plus are outside of the district, but they're still active. But on our website, we have a list of the lenders, telephone numbers, email addresses, lender activity report. I'll ask you guys questions. And lender activity report shows you how the production year to date. So we have a lot of information out there. But business plan, Greg, you mentioned business plan. So how important is it? I know that most of the individuals who raise their hands own a business, right? Even those individuals need business plans. But how important is a business plan to not only a startup, but to an existing business?
Well, just like in the previous panel, the restaurant owner, mentioned a business plan, and it was able for him to be able to identify their goals and objectives and be able to work within those constraints. And so a business plan, basically, it's kind of intimidating sometimes when someone, well, do you have a business plan? Well, maybe I've got some thoughts, but it's actually, it's really easy to Google it, and you can get some templates. And basically, the business plan tells you about your business, what the problem is that you're trying to address, the need for your business, and then how you're going to do it, and how that's going to impact your community and directly with, your market area. And again, it's going to give you more detailed tools like financial projections, which the SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center, and they have free services that be available to help business owners be able to develop those business plans. So they won't do the work for you, but they'll be a guide. And other organizations, your other lenders or the CDFIs can assist in those efforts as well.
All right, thank you so much for that. And Dale, I haven't forgotten about you. So let's talk about I haven't forgotten the 504 loan program. Could you, I know you kind of touched on it in your introduction, but could you kind of go more in depth into what exactly is a 504 loan and how can that be structured to benefit to the small business owner?
On the SBA 504 loan side, what we do is, like I said earlier, is partner with the commercial lenders. We can do a maximum of 40% of that loan at a fixed interest rate for a maximum of 25-year term. That is the one thing that when you're looking at building a business, you're paying interest rates, you've got terms, you've got conventionals, variables, the whole bit. When you partner with us, we're there for you as the CDC to help you through the process of acquiring it, applying for it, getting it closed, working with your lenders, pulling documents. So we're there from the business of all sizes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dale. Hey, Chris, I have a question for you. So in terms of pricing, because I'm sure that a lot of people out here they may be thinking about the pricing, right? So is the cheapest loan always the best? And looking at pricing only versus the big picture, can you kind of speak?
Sure. So obviously, when you're looking at a loan, you do have to look at the cost. What is the interest rate? What are closing costs? Origination fees? You do need to have a clear understanding of what that dollar amount is. But just like when we go buy anything, cheap isn't always the best. You have to look at the support team that you're going to have. Sometimes you're paying a little bit more gets you a lot more in the long run. And so being comfortable with the bank that you're working with, knowing that you got people on your side, that you've got the support team that have navigated these processes many times before. Every loan is created different. And so you need someone who's knowledgeable of the process. And again, you want to look for the most competitive pricing because at the end of the day, that's your cash flow. That affects your cash flow. But just know going in that there's more to it than what is my interest rate. It's the whole picture, the big picture.
Thank you so much for that. Did you have something?
Just to kind of add on to what Chris is saying, every lender out there offers different products. Depending on the product that best fits your business as to where you want to be led to and to have help with. So just visit with as many as you can and pick the one that best fits your needs. Like Chris is saying, everybody has different interest rates, everything's different.
Okay, Greg, this is for you, Greg. Not to put you on the spot, because I promised I wouldn't put anyone on the spot, right? But I know not a lot, you know more about PeopleFund, but when it comes to the CDFIs, PeopleFund and the other ones, won't name the names because you're on the panel. But
Communities Unlimited is over here.
I'm thinking of when it comes to credit, right? When it comes to credit scores, I know that when I was a lender, I get those questions. Hey, Winston, how do you price your loan? I'm not pricing. What kind of credit score are you looking at? In terms of PeopleFund, I know you guys will go as low as a certain level. If you could speak to that, if you don't mind.
Well, there's a lot of misnomers about credit scores. There's a lot of different scoring systems out there. There's 3 major credit bureaus. All of them have their own scoring system. And then there's other Vantage is another one that has an algorithm that they sell to the other credit bureaus, as well as Fair Isaac and FICO is the term. And so all those are calculations, okay? But basically is looking at your credit history, okay? As a CDFI, we try to, again, bridge that gap for the startups. And so we do have lesser credit requirements, okay? But, if you have historically not paid your bills, okay, it's going to be hard to do a loan with you, okay? And so you need to be cognitive of your credit score or your credit history. And there's a lot of free services that are out there that can provide you with a free credit review of each one of those bureaus. And then there's subscribed resources as well that can give you daily alerts of different changes. And so I would always, again, different lenders have different criterias, but, be knowledgeable of what your credit score is before you go through that process. I would think that that'd be an essential part of, the initial elements or efforts that you make for starting a business is understanding what your credit history is. But don't feel like you can't correct it. You can improve it. And there's ways of doing that. And so again, those resources are available. All of our partners can guide you in that as well. And then again, you can search it on the internet.
Thank you for that, Greg. Appreciate that. Dale, in terms of transparency, right? And Greg was kind of touching on that. How important is it for the small business owner or prospective owner to be transparent with their lender?
Transparency is crucial. That's why you're building a 2-year plus relationship with your lenders. Always steer towards lender because they do 50% of your project. We just do 40. We're partnering with that lender. By being transparent with them, you're gonna make it in your business because they know where your needs are and what you need to do to run the business and have. Credit scores. SBA doesn't really have a min max on the credit score, but we did pull for your personal guarantee. For your entity, if you already have entity guarantees. We pull them, but your lender has the criteria, as the minimum, maximum, whatever the credit score needs to be. So transparency is crucial with your lender as well as with us as your CDC. We're the ones that are in the game with you to help you.
Thank you for that, Bill. Did you have something, Bruce?
Yeah, and just echoing what Dale said, it is so important. When I take a loan to committee, I have to paint a picture. I have to get, depending on the loan amount, if it's over my approval level, I've got to get these other approvers comfortable. I've got to know the whole story, and I can't have surprises crop up down the road. And so, again, sometimes we forget stuff, totally understandable, but me having a clear picture, the good, the bad, the ugly, makes it so much easier in the long run for me to make a case to get a loan approved. And that character piece, you being honest from the get-go, speaks volumes. And again, we've all had rough times in life. I'm sure we've all fallen down. We get back up, but being honest about those, sharing, helps me do my job better.
And it kind of goes into the whole relationship piece, right? Developing that relationship. And so there was a time I was moderating a panel in Houston, and I mentioned relationships. I was doing a presentation on 5 C's and Written. And I mentioned relationships, and someone said, why do you keep talking about relationships? What's so important? It's important because you develop that relationship, the business relationship, right, with that lender, and they get to know you, they know your business, they come out, they see the business. If you're planning on starting a business, they'll come out and do a site inspection, meaning come out and see where you plan on opening. They get to know you, right? And I'm speaking from my lending background, so I'm not making this up, right? They get to know you, and then when it's time to go through the process that Chris just spoke to, and he gets those questions, depending on the bank, some banks, the individual that you're talking to may have lending authority up to a certain dollar amount. Some have to send it into a underwriting department that could be in another city, so they never see you guys, right? And then some, the smaller banks, go to loan committees. So I've done all those different things, right? But the better that the lender knows you, when they get those questions that maybe they didn't complete when they sent in the request, they'll reach out to you and say, give me this information, so I'm trying to get your deal done. So relationships are very important. I can't say that enough, how important relationships are, and transparency, just being open, being honest. But Chris, going back to you for a sec, what's the best practices, and anyone else can jump into, what's the best practices to prepare for an SBA request or loan request?
I think one, talking to your local CDC, talking to your local SBDC on helping getting the paperwork prepped. SBA is a great product, but there is a process to go through. And so you need someone who's done that. And so partnering with those groups is very important. And then getting all your ducks in a row early. Whenever we send out a request, whether it be provincial or SBA, I'm giving you a checklist. Here's every piece of information I need, including DNA and firstborn. But get all that information together and submit it at once. It may take a little while, but when I started writing things, I have everything I need. And that's key. Not missing pieces, having to go and pull teeth to get them. Just have it all together.
we as well have a checklist that we provide that the SBA needs in order to get your home approved. We try to work alongside of the lender at the same time. Some of those have time restraints, before we do submit them. But for the majority and the most part, if you get us in on the front side of the loan, and before you go to the loan committee to where we're working with your lender as well, it expedites that loan. So get us all in the loop at the same time.
Well, as all of us have mentioned, is that it is a process, okay? And, it'll take you time putting the information that we request from you to pull it together. Well, just like I was mentioned several times, that the lender that you're speaking to is not going to be probably the decision maker. And so he's going to have to sell your deal to the decision maker. That could be, as Winston mentioned, the underwriters or the loan committee or the SBA. But basically, and so again, that relationship. And so the primary contact person you're dealing with at the bank or the financial institution, you're going to have to get them to be your best friend and understand your business so they can sell your business well for you. And so the transparency comes in play in that regard, as well as, don't discount anything on the list because it's a necessary part, okay? A lot of people, start working on the first three and say, okay, well, when am I going to get my loan approval? Well, we haven't completed the list yet, okay? And so it can't be an onerous effort. You might get intimidated by the list, sometimes, but again, it's an essential part for us to understand your business, who you are, and the project.
Jump back in real quick too. When you get a list, it's gonna appear most times it's a lot. But talk to your banker. There's plenty of times I'll reach out to their CPA. Give me permission to talk to them. I'll do that. Let me talk, if we're doing real estate, I'm gonna talk to the title company. I'll help you with the survey. I'll help walk you through that. So don't be afraid to ask that. This is something hopefully your lender has done plenty of times and may know ways to help navigate and speed up the process as well.
Communication is the key. Expedient communication. If you have a timeline you're wanting to work within.
Well, Chris, thank you for bringing up and also you, Greg, and Dale, the timeline. One of the things, I was out in the hallway talking to our regional administrator earlier before this session, and we were talking about timeframes and expectations and so forth. One of the things, and the panelists just spoke to it already, I'm just going to reiterate it, but when you go apply for a loan with one of these lenders here, or any lender for that matter, right? And you're looking at, okay, well, I submitted my information, it's taking a long time for that decision. The reason why it may appear to take a long time is because when the lender provides you with that checklist, they need all the information on that checklist before they can submit it, or before they can start making that, or start analyzing it, if you will. So you, in your mind as a small business, you may be thinking, well, when I was a lender, I'll use myself. I gave Winston that package and it's been 30 days and it's still going on. And then you call me and I go, I hope there's not a Susan in here. So I'll say, Susan, don't forget, I still need, your tax return for 2022 or whatever. So the clock doesn't start until they get everything on that checklist. Once they have everything and you verify, say, okay, Chris, do you have everything on the checklist? And Dale and Greg, and if they say yes, now that clock is started, okay? Now, usually they can wait your decision after that, but then when it does go to underwriting, if that's the way the bank is, or the lender is structured, they may ask some additional questions. But the key is make sure that you give them a complete package. And I'm gonna start opening it up to you guys if you have any questions, so get ready for that. I'm coming out to you for a second. Did you have something to do? I saw you for your microphone.
The SBDC is really great with helping you pull that package together. They know everything that's needed for the the SBA, for the lenders, and they pull it into a binder. So I see John here, I see Alicia, I don't see Dana over there, but get with your SBDCs of our area. There's one in Port Arthur, Orange. We're here to help you.
Thank you, Dale, thank you for recognizing our partners, our friends, John. And John, raise your hand, John, and anyone else from the SBDC, or state friends, SCORE, over there, they're here, guys. So those are our resource partners. They help you not only with your business plan, they get you ready to become a banker, right? They are experts. They know what the lenders want to see. John and I have had many conversations about the deals he's working on, Dana. So they know what the banks want to see, the credit unions want to see, the CDFIs want to see. So they're not going to let you go until they think you're ready. What I mean by letting you go, they're not going to hold you hostage, right? But they're not going to say, go to the bank now, you're ready. They're going to say, you're not ready yet. You need to tighten this up a little bit more. If you have projections, if you need projections, they're going to say you need some best assumptions. So they'll make sure you're ready before you go see these guys here. But Chris, anyone can answer this question. How important is it for the small business owner to have an accountant, CPA, bookkeeper, so on?
It's paramount. One of the number one reasons small businesses fail early on is their taxes and their filings. Those things can catch up with you quick. It is amazing when I get, whether it be, in-house or compile financial statements, that they come to me. That tells me so much. That tells me that business puts importance on their reporting, and conveying that to me, and having them correct and balance, all that, it speaks volumes. And when you start up a small business, you're doing something probably because you're passionate about it. My wife owns a dance studio. She teaches dance. She's great at it, but is she super great at QuickBooks? No. And that's where I jump in. And so, knowing your strengths and then knowing what partners to leverage, to make sure your business is successful. It's okay not to know everything. Just know that you need help. And it's okay to reach out for that. And you need to. It helps your business improve its chance of success and growth.
It's kind of like what Frankie said earlier, pull your team together so you can focus on your business, not working in the business.
I like to think about accounting as a language in itself, okay? And not all of us have multiple language skills. And so most business owners, again, they're passionate about their business, but not necessarily accounting and financial statements, okay? And so leave it to the people who know how to do it. And then, because it does show us the picture. We understand the language. And it tells us a lot about your business. So, make the investment in, even QuickBooks online or whatever, if you feel confident in doing the effort. There's a lot of resources. The SBDC, again, has training videos on how to do, and they have classes. And then the community colleges, Lamar has classes on bookkeeping and software such as QuickBooks. But the professionals are always a good resource as well.
Thank you, Greg. We're going to go ahead and open it up to the audience for any questions. And while you guys are thinking of your question, I'll just ask you a couple more questions. Any questions out in the audience? Just raise your hand. Do we have a mic? Can you repeat?
I can always speak loud enough. So I just had a quick question about, you guys all mentioned when it comes to starting in business, you can get a loan. Is there a minimum to maximum year to where basically you're not considered a startup? Would a lender say, oh, you've already been at this too long, we're not going to lend to you?
For PeopleFund, we will do it. I'm sorry.
Did everyone hear that? Did you hear the question? Everyone? You got it? Okay.
I think the question was the minimum time to seek out financing with a lender. And so for PeopleFund, we will do a day one startup, okay? But what we're going to rely mostly on is your cash flow from your personal abilities, your W-2 job, how you can pay us back, because we don't have a crystal ball any better than you do about how successful a startup business is going to be. And so, but normally, a existing business, we consider them as having 2 years of completed tax reported periods. And again, the accountant's given us a tax return showing your ability, again, to be able to repay the debt. You know, we do consider your personal resources even as a, you know, as a support for an existing business as well.
Any other questions? There's no such thing as a bad question, so go for it. Any questions at all? She has, but he's gonna bring the mic right there. Go ahead.
So my name is Alicia Brown. I am the owner of Nine Digits. I'm a private math interventionist, and a lot of these particular businesses are there, but a lot of the kids are not being reached. As a former teacher in the public school system, I know the STAR data. But I was trying to see, do you guys know of any organizations or entities that offers grants for businesses like myself? Because my grade ain't good. I ain't gonna waste no vendor's time. And I don't have established business grade, so transparently speaking, I would need access to a grant, or if one of you business owners would like to donate to my very small business, I would be grateful for that too.
I do know grants or application process, and the SBDCs can help you apply for the grants that would best fit your business, but not all grants are free. You do, some of them you do have to pay back, so I don't know which ones they have.
And I think still go ahead and talk to a banker. Sit down, let them help you look at that path going forward. Because your goal is not always going to be where you are today. And so they can give you advice to move forward. Also looking at, I mean, a lot of grants are catered more towards nonprofit. So, you know, looking at how your business is set up may be something as well. But it's never too early to just sit down and talk.
Thank you. That's a real common question, you know, show me the free money, so the grant. And we've come through a period during the COVID time that the SBA was very helpful for businesses through the PPP program. That's a very unique situation, and I'd only seen that one time in my 50 years worth of banking experience. And so thinking that those opportunities are going to come along again, you know, hopefully, you know, we experiencing a bad traumatic experience when those situations come along, and we don't pray for those, okay? But there are grant systems out there available. One particular website, and I'll mention, I'm not, I don't get any
Endorse it.
yeah, endorsement. I'm not endorsing, but it's just one that I know of and aware of. It's called HelloSkip.com, and he has a lot of corporate sponsorships that offer grants to help startups. There's another resource, your local Salem store. They have a very robust grant program. But again, grants are usually written for a specific objective. And applications are very delineated to a specific effort that they're trying to touch. And so they're not always well suited for most businesses. And so, but again, the investment of time and effort and even the expense of getting all your records together is an essential part for the grant program as well. PeopleFund, we do have a grant program where it was coupled with our microloan program that goes up to $50,000. We have an 8-week training program for general business knowledge online. It's usually an hour and a half per week with a generalist talking about all kind of aspects of business, from HR to marketing to technology to legal issues to tax issues. And so it's kind of a brief, we call it an accelerator program, and it allows you to have access to a group of advisors and then other business owners or prospects to be able to help guide in the effort. If you complete the 8-week program, meet with a one-on-one with a business advisor that help you develop your business plan, which we've mentioned before. We make available a software app called Live Plan, which is very pricey if you go to buy it, but it's offered free through that grant program. And then you have to apply for a loan also in this program. If you're granted the loan and you complete all the elements, then there's $5,000 available, up to $5,000 as a grant to additional funding source for your business. So again, grants are out there, but they're specifically, and you need to follow all the rules to, and there's not a lot of success or availability of funding from that source. So that's not a traditional source that you can depend on.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. And Chris, thank you for what you said. The young lady in the back, don't think or feel that you're not eligible because you just never know. Have a conversation with lenders, be upfront, be transparent like you just did with us. Appreciate you doing that because you just never know what lenders can do for you. Or they can maybe refer you to a source of grants that or lending that's very aggressive. I call it aggressive when they just really get aggressive, right? But don't count yourself out, all right? And then also give my business card because we try to stay apprised at the SBA. We try to stay apprised of what's happening in terms of in the grant world, if you will. We don't have them, but we typically will hear about sources and we can maybe give you the links to those. So give my card before you leave. Chris, this is for all you guys. A question I'm just asking.
Literally, I really don't need the mic. I've been blessed with that challenging voice. I'm one of the announcers for my high school. So I'm in a tight spot and I'm looking for advice. So my business is Robertson Brothers Sports. What we're doing is teaching young men, young women how to get along in society and do everything LEGAL and abide the LAW. So what we do, we go out and teach kids how to play sports, how to empower themselves to the college through sports. I was blessed to be able to go on and do that. My brother was able to do that. My son was blessed to be on to do that. So what we want to do is give back to the community. So I'm in a tight spot because I'm on the West Orange Consolidated Independent School District School Board, and I also work with Motiva Enterprises. I have been offered all kinds of sponsorships to give scholarships back, but I have to worry about that code of ethics and that conflict of interest. So when you have any advice for me personally and everybody else and anybody else in the room to where I can say, yes, I can accept that, and I've given it back to the schools because we started off giving out 2 scholarships. Now I'm up to 9. And so I'd like to give out more and more money back to all of our Orange County schools. I cannot receive that being in the position that I am on the board, as well as I can't go get a weights company, which I won't take, that offered me a lucrative amount of money to help with that in that entity as well. So do you have any advice for me on how I can say something that's legal in the legality range to where I can give this money back to the schools?
Yeah, so I'm on school board as well, so I know the fund you deal with. I would say look for an organization that's existing boosters that can receive the funds. There's nothing wrong with you sourcing or connecting them with local businesses. They can receive the donations, the grants, and that kind of takes you out of the picture to where there's no line being blurred. You're still helping the kids at the end of the day. But I would say looking and seeing if there's an existing organization that could potentially be partnered with, that you're not have any control in or voting power.
In the interest of time, because I want to be fair to this organization. So we have 3 minutes left. I'm going to ask each of you just to give a closing remark, advice, and then you want to share with the small businesses, and then we will adjourn for this session. So we'll start with you, Greg, Dale, and then Chris. Quick, brief. Yeah, brief.
Well, the main thing and again, all the panelists have mentioned this, even the previous one, about the entrepreneurial spirit, okay? To be a business owner, you're going to have to be totally invested. And, if you're coming from an 8 to 5 job, you're going to give that up for 24 hours 7, okay? Whenever you're laying in bed thinking about the next day, okay, that's going to be an investment of your time and effort. And so it's worth it, okay? I've not always sit on on this side from the lender side. I've been on the other side as well. And it's worth it, but, it is an investment of time, actually blood, sweat, and tears. And so I embrace all the entrepreneurs out there because our economy depends on that. But, it takes an investment for sure.
Thank you, Greg. Jeff?
Just real brief, I have a resource table right over here by the exit wall. Come over, visit, pick up a business card, and let's start building that relationship now so that when you're ready and you're bankable, which the SBDCs in the room can help you get, and then you find your lender, we'll push forward with your dreams.
And just like I recommend, ask questions. There's no dumb question. When you get into lending, there's terms, there's acronyms, there's all that kind of stuff that we use day in, day out. That's like second nature to us, but is root to you. Ask questions. If you don't understand something, nothing wrong with that. Ask, and your lender or whoever else is on your team can help walk you through that. I want you to be as educated as possible, and I'll do anything within my power to help you get there.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Give them a hand. They did a great job. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.